Earlier this year, I traveled outside of Mexico City to a place that I always wanted to go, which is a sanctuary called Piedra Herada, and it is one of the final destinations for monarch butterflies migrating from Canada. That kind of migration took on a lot of meaning for me personally, but also for, I think, Mexican American culture at large. There's this basically a labor stream that happens from all the way in Mexico, northern Mexico, and people who settled in Texas or were there originally, following work basically all the way up to Canada and back. So it kind of mimics the path of the monarch. There's also all of these kind of mythic tales of, or these kind of projections onto the butterfly migration as like the souls of departed ones. And so there's a lot of kind of symbolism and a lot of kind of relation to this migration. But to actually see it is something else. It's just really beautiful. And so it seemed appropriate, after having seen that, to title the show Mariposa. I think there's quite a number of ways to enter these works. They're highly textural, they're really brightly colored. Sometimes they're really hard to look at. They're very formal, they're mostly shapes and they're mostly color and they're mostly texture. And so they're, easy to kind of approach and look at, but I think, the more you stand and look at it, they're also quite foreign in a way, because I think for most people, they're kind of hard to figure out how they're made. They are presenting like some ideas that are challenging to look at. Maybe if you look at a title, it's in Spanish. There's like a lot of different kinds of information to absorb from them, but at the same time, they're kind of easy to approach and be in front of. And so, for me, a lot of these works, they are kind of quite disorienting, especially when I'm making them. These like complementary colors that are vibrational, that are retinal, after a certain amount of time looking at them, my vision will actually go gray. And so it's just like there's a chemical in your eye that gets drained when you're looking at these kinds of colors, and it replenishes. But if you look at it for too long, it'll actually like deplete, which is a really weird kind of phenomenon that I learned just by making them. And so they are sometimes physically uncomfortable to look at, like this mural. And, I hope that someone that was looking at it would try and figure out why that would be, and why that would be connect to an experience of, being from a place that is really complex, that is kind of hard to understand, or someone that is like physically uncomfortable in a space, like what that actual experience is. And so there are ways, I think, that these paintings function that are like quite literal and can actually affect the viewer like physically.